It's a term that we've heard a lot of during this pandemic, emergency use authorization. Now, top officials at the FDA are floating the idea of using it to speed up that vaccine. But what is it exactly, and why do some critics think it would be a dangerous move? Our ABC 10 News anchor Derek Stahl is going in depth to get answers.
From ventilators to diagnostic tests to experimental treatments like remdesivir, the FDA has issued more than 600 emergency use authorizations since the pandemic began.
That's such a powerful term, emergency use authorization.
The regulatory term was put into law back in 2004, and EUAs, as they're called, have been used during several health emergencies, including the H1N1 pandemic in 2009. As this FDA video explains, an EUA allows the agency to temporarily authorize a drug or device for use during an emergency, as long as the available evidence suggests the potential benefits outweigh the potential risks.
Because in some emergency situations, we just cannot wait for all the evidence needed for full FDA approval.
This is not the same as an approval, but it's an authorization.
FDA Commissioner Stephen Hahn has suggested using an EUA to speed up distribution of a vaccine before the end of the year and maybe before the election. That's alarming to consumer advocates like Dr. Sidney Wolf of Public Citizen.
The amount of information on how effective it is, the amount of information on how safe it is less than would be required for full approval. And a full approval could arguably come in 3 or 4 months.
In a letter to pharma companies, the FDA said it might issue an EUA for a vaccine once studies have demonstrated the safety and effectiveness, but before other steps in the traditional process, like an in-person inspection and detailed data on how the vaccine was made and tested. Wolf thinks an EUA for a vaccine could backfire.
The loss of confidence by people will translate into a much decreased willingness to be vaccinated.
Critics say there was evidence of political pressure from the president in the EUAs for convalescent plasma and for hydroxychloroquine. The FDA revoked the EUA for the anti-malaria drug after more studies showed it wasn't effective and could have serious side effects. Dr. Christian Ramers at Family Health Centers of San Diego says there's a big difference between authorizing an experimental drug with limited data and a vaccine, because drugs are given to people who are already sick.
And somebody really has been through 2 or 3 or 4 different rounds of chemo and nothing's worked, the risks and benefits are really tilted in a different way. But a vaccine is a really special situation because we're giving it to healthy people. We're giving it to the general population before they become ill. So historically, the safety threshold for a vaccine has been way, way, way higher.
There's only been one EUA ever for a vaccine. It was in 2005. That vaccine was to protect soldiers against an anthrax chemical attack. And critics say that's a different situation than one for a communicable disease like COVID-19. Derek Stahl, ABC 10 News.